don't know if you can see the disgust on my face. The tom was already on the ground. He was down in there. I guess you can figure out what happened next. Gone. Okay, this is July 8th. I'm up on my property. I'm just gonna come back in here, drop some minerals off. It's like I was telling you last week, I've got 2 mineral licks up here, and I got about 2 months left before opening season, before bow season starts. So I'm gonna come in here. I checked it last week, and the deer have definitely been using it. So I'm gonna add some more to this one, and I'll add some more to the one on the other side of the ridge. But primarily today, what I want to talk about is shooting your bow. If you just started shooting your bow and I got mosquitoes all around me and you're all over the place, don't worry. Hang in there and I'll tell you why. Deer are definitely using this trail. That is a good sign for sure. Even if you got a small piece of property, and this is only about 15 acres, it doesn't hurt to try to make some improvements. And what I'll do another video on what I've done to this property, and maybe it'll give you some ideas on what you can do to your property as well. But we're coming up on this mineral lick, and if you can remember, the deer have been in there quite a bit. Just ran through a spider web. I'm sure you guys are familiar with doing that. But I'm gonna drop some minerals here, and we're gonna get back down the mountain, and we're gonna start shooting our bow. So stay tuned. Okay, back out of the woods. And as I said earlier, I wanna go over picking up your bow since last season. And if it was one of those situations where you shot or practiced back in the summer, and then when the hunting season came in and you started hunting and you didn't shoot anymore, then it's almost been a year for some of us. Now, there's some people who shoot year round, and that's great. Shoot a few hours every week and stay in good shape. But if you're one of those people that you haven't picked up your bow and haven't even shot your target in 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months, I want to go over 3 things here that might save you a little anguish. I can remember a lot of times friends at work and hunting buddies picking my bow. They pick up their bow and they start shooting the thing, thinking I can't hit anything. I can't. I'm not shooting anywhere like I shot last year, and my bow was shooting great. So then they start working on the bow, and they start changing things. Well, then they go to the bow shop, So then the bow isn't set up like it was last year. So first thing you're gonna do is, when you start shooting, you're gonna get your muscle memory back in play. You're gonna get back in shape, okay? Using those muscles that you use to draw back, hold, and release your bow. Number 2, you're gonna get your shooting form back like it was before. And number 3, you're gonna get your consistency on your routine, whatever routine you go through, to ensure you're doing the same thing every time. Reduce the variation in your shots. But here's one thing, number 4, that I want to mention that's vitally important. Here, this is my bow, and this is a bow tech. Actually, bought this bow off my son-in-law. He got him a new bow, and I bought his older bow. But I shot this bow last year and got it dialed in, okay? Shot a considerable amount of time, got everything dialed in, then I put it up. All right, the bow hasn't changed. I haven't made any modifications alterations. I haven't put a new string on. It just got a new string last year, so it doesn't need one. I haven't put any new sights. I haven't changed my arrows. I haven't done anything. I haven't changed the draw length, the poundage. The bow is still the same, okay? So if your bow was shot in last year and you were shooting tight groups at, 20, 30, 40, whatever the range is that you shoot, then the only variable is you, the shooter. So take your time, be patient. Don't just go ahead and start making adjustments on your bow, because then you're changing what worked last year. And then you got to move everything back to try to get to that original starting point. So what I want you to do is shoot for at least a couple weeks. Try to get a good pattern going. Try to get some really tight groups if you can. But don't worry about the grouping. Like I said, number one, get the muscle memory back. Okay, start drawing, hold, get your breathing down, your vision, get everything the way it needs to be. Release, practice, squeezing the trigger. Number two is getting your form down. The form that you use, especially when you're in a tree stand. A lot of times we practice off the ground all the time, and then we get in a tree stand and we're having to bend over, so it changes the dynamics a little bit. So I practice off the ground, but then I also practice off a tree stand too. So get your form down off the ground and out of a tree stand. So keep working on your form, get everything back in. And you'll make you some notes if you have to, because a lot of times we forget subtle things that we may have done the previous season to ensure that we were accurate and consistent every time. So get your form down. And then, the third thing is whatever routine you go through every time to reduce the variation. I mean, it's like shooting a rifle. You deep breath, release, hold, squeeze. And you do that on every shot, reducing the variation. So it's the same with the bow. You want to reduce the variation. So do the same thing. I've got a three-step process that I go through to ensure mechanically I'm doing the same thing every time. Fundamentally, I'm doing the same things every time. And to keep my consistency the way it needs to be, so I don't do anything to alter or change it. Reduce the variation. I'm doing the same thing every time. How I draw, how I breathe, how I release, my anchor point, all those things. Practicing it over and over again. And like I said, I've got this routine: 1, do this; 2, do this; 3, do this. So whatever your routine is to get that consistency back in, practice that as well. Do that for a couple weeks. Don't make any changes to your bow. Like I said, if you shot your bow last year and you were shooting those tight groups, 20, 30, 40, whatever, and you haven't made any changes to the bow, then it's the shooter that needs to be tuned, and that's us. Okay, so if you haven't picked up your bow in a long time, practice for a couple of weeks, and then after the second week, start being concerned about the groups. Your groups should start falling in line. It's like calibrating a piece of equipment. 6 months, a year, whatever, it's calibrated until the next due date, unless it's broken or something's changed on it or something's happened to it. Bow's the same way. You calibrated it or you shot it in, set it up, sighted it in, and got it to where you needed it to be the previous season. You put it up, no changes made, you pick the bow back up, the bow's the same. So just verify that everything on the bow is correct. Sometimes when you put them up, they can get damaged or whatever. Everything looks the same, there's no damage or anything like that, then the bow should be good to go. And then it's you, the shooter. So go through those 3 steps, okay? Ensure that the bow is in proper working condition, and wait a couple weeks before you start making some adjustments. Trust me, your groups will start falling into place. Okay, it's just one of those situations where you haven't shot in a long time. It just takes a while to get back into the groove. So 1, get the muscles ready. 2, get your form down. 3, get your routine down. And then, like I said, number 4, verify the bow is the same way it was the previous season. And if it is, then it's just a shooter that needs to be tuned. I'm just shooting into this yellow jacket target. Obviously, I'm using field tips. You definitely don't want to start out with broadheads, or I don't. I mean, if you've been shooting year round, you can probably still be shooting broadheads, but get you a practice broadhead. If you got a pack, obviously gotta be the same weight, same design, etc. Use that to shoot with and keep your razor sharp ones for hunting season. Now, if you've got a sharpener, then you can sharpen the practice broadhead, but a lot of times practice broadheads get damaged. So we gotta be careful with that too. So season's about ready to start in some states. I think Kentucky, it opens right around the 1st of September. So here we are getting, second weekend of July. So you got 6 to 8 weeks left to go. Start shooting, but don't make any adjustments till after that second week. And I can guarantee you that your groups will start getting better as long as the bow has stayed the same, okay? So I'm gonna start shooting. I'm gonna see what I can do, get in my routine, and we'll see you next time.